Thank you very much. Wish to thank the India Foundation, the jury which selected the awards for today, all those who have been here on the dais, the Honorable Speaker from Maldives, who has spoken at great length, to the Foreign Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, from whom I am deeply privileged to receive this award, to someone who's worked with me very closely, like Mr. Suresh Prabhu, when he began to really amend, and just tickle his memory, the Electricity Act, which was enacted during the colonial era, to be replaced by the modern Electricity Act. I was deeply privileged to work with you, Suresh, at that time. Let me say that since this is an award which has been conferred on me, B R Shenoy Award, I had the privilege to know him very well, and it is therefore very nostalgic for me to really receive an award in his memory. I had the opportunity to interact with him, how the ideas which have their origin in the roots of India, in its civilizational values, in the fact that if you read Angus Deaton's History of the World, you will come to the conclusion that till about 1100 BC, India was the world's leader in economic development. Our per capita income was a multiple of what really is that of China. Europe was really some part of the world which had barely begun to begin its existence. A shining example of this is a kind of educational values which India had cherished at that time. If we look at the history of Nalanda University, with which I am privileged to be connected, Nalanda University for 1200 years was the seat of learning and the seat of enlightenment. For those who talk about India's global interdependence, Nalanda for 1200 years had hosted 10,000 foreign students in hostels, in thousands of faculty from all over the world. And at the time, on the very time when Nalanda was being burnt in around 1275 by the advancing army of Bakhtiyar Khilji, that was the very same time when Oxford was being inaugurated. What did the destruction of Nalanda represent compared to the destruction of Nalanda, the inauguration of Oxford? It was a transition of the power of India from Indian values and Indian civilizational roots to what has come to be known, sometimes descriptively, sometimes pejoratively, as a transition of India's intellectual power from India to Western societies. Indeed, as we look at the development of India's economics and the various stages it has gone through, particularly in the initial periods of our independence, till then, too, India had held high. Unfortunately, we got a mindset which did not represent the same mindset in terms of leadership, which would have enabled India to retain this leadership position. So India began to progressively lose space in its economic leadership, in its social leadership, in the preference to the Western world. Fortunately, we are beginning to rediscover all this. Fortunately, we are able to now rediscover the fact that the Indian roots of civilization, of legacy, of economic growth can be rekindled and rejuvenated as India can seek its own place, which it has traditionally enjoyed in the history of civilization, as an intellectual power, as a leader in economic thinking, and as a nation with which is not a drag on the world, but is a contributor to global growth and global prosperity. Fortunately, I see the future rather optimistically. I see it driven by the power of innovation, which is very inherent in every Indian who is an inherent entrepreneur in his own right. I see it on what catalyzing private innovation skills, the private entrepreneurs, with public governance and policy, and an enabling regulatory framework for us to be able to achieve rates of economic growth, which would enable this country to reclaim its past legacy and past glory as someone which has led the world's civilization. It is therefore with humility that I accept this special honor which India Foundation has conferred upon it for some work and some ideas relating to India's economic reforms. I accept this with humility for the little contribution I may have made, and I am deeply honored that this honor has been conferred upon me, fostered by the India Foundation, by the Foreign Minister of India, who has also played a very decisive role in reshaping our foreign policy, and who has seen the relationship between economics and foreign policy. After all, those who have learnt economics will remember that one of the most iconic works in economic literature was by Adam Smith. But what was the title of the main works which he did? He never talked about economy. He never talked about economics. He talked about political economy. And it is the play of political economy which is going to catapult India to its really rightful position in history. I'm deeply honored and deeply privileged to have received this award, and I'm thankful to all of you who have contributed for enabling this in the independent jury of the India Foundation to have given me this single honor. Thank you very much.